Thank you very much.
I apologize for misunderstanding that. Okay, so this actually does lead me to a good point, though. The budget amending is probably the one more challenging aspects of my job, because you're called to predict the future to an extent of what you think you'll spend over a certain period of time, or how much money you think you will take in. So what I did this weekend is I took home the latest and greatest report from our system that had the latest payroll, which was on the 5th, and the payables for today, which were already in the system. So with those numbers, I was able to determine that some of my budget amendment that I had done last week was a little bit low. And so I was really fortunate that I got that. And now I believe that I built enough of a base in there so that we won't go over what the amounts are. And that's really important at this time of the year, because obviously you can't be overextend. So like I was saying before, I'm very confident that we will not go over these numbers. And the council does pass the budget at the fund level, and that's why you see these numbers right there. If you, let's say, for example, if you passed it at the department level, you would see department increases or decreases. And if you pass it at the line level, it would be the same. So is that as clear as mother? Do you need more explanation on that?
Questions from council? So could you point out, Richard, which are the ones that you had changed from the previous one?
Certainly. I'll give you an example. The general fund, I increased from 3.9 to 4.6 million. And actually, it was due to some increases in revenues that I didn't anticipate. Sales tax was higher than I thought it would be. And then just a few transfers, too. So it went up on both sides, but it was a healthy balance. The balance I projected was, I think I remember telling you, somewhere in the 900,000 range. And right now it's at 986. So we're doing pretty well there. And I believe we have most of the expenses for December already in hand and less of the revenue, so that could go up. Then the rest, the only other significant ones that were increased was the sewer fund, 402. I discovered this weekend that it was actually overdrawn or in the red by 106,000. So I made a transfer from the sewer capital fund to cover that, and that's why that's increased to 2 million from what it was originally, 1.5 million. The bottom line is we went from 13.4 to 15.7 for the year. And at the beginning of the year, we started out with, the budget was for 20.5 million, or almost 20.6. And some of the big changes for the year, and I believe we talked about this in the workshop, was the fact that they had moved all of the expenses from police, the 521, down to the criminal justice fund, and that was moved back by the mayor and I, and with the council review and workshop. And I have some of the information from the auditors about how they want the bars codes to be placed between the two funds, but we will be discussing this at greater length with staff, and also having conversations with the state auditor and the court. The judge from our court is also going to be discussing some of the expenses and how they're broken down between police and court, so it will be really helpful. Because there's been it seems like there's been a lot of confusion in the city on where police expenses come from. Do they come from, are they court generated, are they criminal justice generated, are they general fund generated? And so that's why we placed them where the auditors have given me the purview to place them, but also I realize there's still some questions from the chief, from the committee and the council, so we will have this all worked out, but for now, I believe it's in the place where they belong.
Questions from council? Councilmember Hussain.
Number 13,
Any other questions, Councilmember Hussain?
Yeah, so again, my attention really turned to the staffing. I'm trying to pull it back up. Yeah, again, back to the community services director, I see that part's blank, and I guess the the basic, my question is, when we adopt a budget amendment like this, are we adopting it as what things need to land on as the close of business of December 31, or are we adopting it for the length of the entire year? Because we had a community services director here.
Right.
And we paid that position salary, and so I fear if we adopt a budget amendment that makes that zero, then that invalidates the position that we had before.
What I did with amending the FTE schedule was to give you the actual picture of where we're at. So think of it as a balance statement like that. So that's why I took it and made it zero. You're correct. I mean, to look back, you would say some of the monies were spent were half a year at least on that position. But what I did is I put it as of 12/31, this was the staffing. And so I don't know that there's a wrong way to go here. I mean, because this is a reflection of the budget. So I think your question's valid, but I think what we have here is a good indicator.
Just as a clarification on that, I was wondering if going forward, could this form be amended to say effective and the passage date on it, or the proposed passage date on it, so that when we're looking back through multiple copies of it, each one of them says on it what the effective date was for it, so that it's clear that it's snapshot and not ongoing.
Or what I could also do is I could put a star next to it and say that there was a person at this position through this date. I think that would clarify it. So that people would understand that maybe there was 0.6 for that year.
And I guess at the end of the day, and I'll look at Ken to nod or something, not expecting how accurate I am. At the end of the day, the budget's in place at the time of the budget governed, and so it wouldn't put us in any trouble to zero out any vacant positions, because they would only be deauthorized at the time and forward from when we amend the budget, right?
That's correct. And I think if the budget was looked at, it would make it very clear what the Astric indicated the position was occupied until this point. Yeah. And then, as indicated, the ordinance takes effect with a certain date, 5 days, so we should be fine.
Other questions from council? Okay, Councilmember Walker.
Towards the bottom of the correction section, summer system, I guess, is the only one that doesn't have a number behind it. Is that something we need? And, it's not relevant now, but do we have it for the 2014? I don't understand that. And do we know how many we generally
We
hire?
did not approve we did a memorandum of understanding, agreement with the union at that time.
And that tells us how many?
Tells us how many and the fee,
Okay. So
or
it's
the
kind of,
wage, right.
kind of flexible. Got it. I'm with you.
Councilmember McMahon.
Sorry, one other, on the Algona course thing, back to the handout here, and I'm assuming that it didn't jump out at me as, in Fund 640, the Algona course, the original 2013 adopted budget was $130,000, and this one takes us to $200,000. Are we really doing that well in at least the Algona portion of our course?
We're at 173,000 for the ninth.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a lot of activity, more than.
Any other questions from council? Is there a motion?
Move to approve the amendment to the 2013 budget, ordinance 13-1851.
Second.
Councilmember Putnam.
It certainly shows the level of changes that we had during the year, but the finance director has the numbers right, and we certainly don't want anything out of balance, so we should approve it. Too late to change it.
Councilmember Walker.
Agree.
Any other comments from council? Councilmember Case.
For the same reasons for not voting on the 2014 budget, I will abstain from voting on this.
Okay. Any other comments from council? Comments from the audience? Okay, hearing none, roll call council.
Councilmember Steiger?
All right.
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
Councilmember Halsey?
All right.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember McMahon.
Aye.
Councilmember Putnam.
Aye.